Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Airspeed Plays TCGs video. This is going to be part 6, and this is going to be the video where I just look at some other card games that I happen to know. I'll mention some other ones that I know about but maybe don't have the cards of, and maybe I'll do a video on them at a later point if I ever get cards from them. But today the card games I'm going to be looking at are Redakai and also the Avatar: The Last Airbender Quickstrike trading card game. I've talked about that briefly in other videos on my channel, but I'll also just mention it as part of this in a short section at the end. But mainly this is going to focus on Redakai, because I actually have a decent amount of cards of this game. No idea when this game actually came out. As far as I'm aware, it's like the past 2-3 years or something like that. The only reason I have these cards is because this game went on super discount everywhere. So I got like 10 packs of these cards for like €2-3 euro in some toy shop somewhere, and some of the other stuff as well, like the deck box or whatever, and stuff like that to play the game. And you know, it's interesting enough. It's definitely an interesting game. The cards are interesting. It's just not the most complicated game ever. But let me get into it. Anyway, the full name of the game is called Redakai Conquer the Kairu. And the most interesting thing about it is that I think there is an anime series about it, but the cards are some of the nicest kind of quality cards you've seen anywhere. If any of you have heard anything about this game, it's probably that the cards are see-through and kind of are move and stuff like that. So here's one of the cards. You can clearly see it's see-through, but also just by moving the card, you can see that the image actually moves to show that like it's an actual attack. This is an attack card, and as you can see, it's a jet jump. It's kind of like a lightning bolt, and it shows the lightning bolt going back and forth. That's cool. But also, even the character cards do a little bit of movement. You can sort of see there. It's pretty nice, and that's what they are. They're like really nice quality cards. Actually, like they're made of the plastic. It'd be really hard to just accidentally bend one of these things. It'd take an actual effort to do that. And then here's one of the monster cards, and you can also see it does the same thing. But yeah, these are about the 3 different types of cards. There's your character card, which you start off with. It's not really considered part of your deck. There's these monster cards, which augment your character throughout the game. And then just these attack cards, which basically attack each other's characters and stuff like that. So that's the basic idea of the game. And then the gameplay consists of stacking cards on top of each other. So you can see that this is the character's hit points. Yellow means that they actually have that hit points left. And then when you put your own monster cards on top of your own characters to give them extra defense points. So he only has green defense. This would add red defense to him in both zones. And also sometimes these cards can heal your characters. So for instance, let's bring in this monster here. So say he took damage from an attack, like say this. You just put the attack over the card, and you can see, if you just line it up correctly, that it actually covers up one of the damage zones. So you've done 1 damage to it, and because this is a blue card and he only has green defense, it actually hits. So this kind of goes over the top of it, and then you get that kind of effect where the cards kind of stack together. Let me just get this right, where you can sort of see both cards doing the same thing, like he's getting hit by the attack. So it's a really kind of nice kind of thing when they're all stacked on top of each other. And then it's possible to heal your character using your own monster cards. So you put this guy on top of the attack, and you can see there the damage is healed because it goes over the damage. So that's basically the way the game works. You know, you start off with this, you put your own monster cards on top of it to heal damage, make your card more powerful, and then your opponent puts their attack cards on top of that to do damage to you. And the aim of the game is that you have 3 characters on the field, and if they do 3 damage to all of your characters, you win the game. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about the different rarities and stuff like that in the game. So basically all these cards here are commons, except this one. But these cards here are commons because there's nothing shiny about the card. All of the cards in this game move, but none of them are really shiny until you get to the rare cards, which are like this. And because the cards are kind of see-through and have all this effect, the only place they can put the shininess is on the kind of borders of the card. So This silver shininess means it's just a rare card. You know, you don't get one in every pack, but you get one in every few packs, and they're more powerful cards. And then the rarity up from that, as I showed you here, is this gold one. And these are pretty hard to get. I think I only have 2 of them, as you can see here. And they're available in all different varieties. So here's a rare character, here's a rare monster, and here's a rare attack. Here's a super, like ultra rare, whatever you want to call it, monster. And there's a super ultra rare attack. And now all of these cards have a certain cost. So that you see that 4 up in the corner there, that's the amount of Kairu that you would use to cast this card. And that's part of the game and how it works, which I'll explain in a moment in a brief test of the game. I won't go anywhere near as in-depth into this game as I went into the others. But that's basically how you play the game. You cast these cards from your hand and stuff like that. The one downside I think to this game is that it requires like some equipment, because you're stacking cards on top of each other and they're kind of so thick and kind of smooth. They actually kind of move around a lot, and the game only works when they're like right perfectly on top of each other. So you actually have to use this kind of tray type thing that you get with some of the sets. So let me just turn this around the right way. And you put your character cards in this thing to start off the game. And then, you know, as you do damage, you put the cards in here and it stacks them like perfectly on top of each other, and so on. So it works pretty well once you have the tray, but you do kind of need it to play the game properly. And then as well as that, because you actually do have a deck of cards and they're all see-through, the game doesn't work that good for like shuffling and stuff like that. So here's a stack of cards, and you can clearly see that, like, just based on the picture, you can see some of the first few pictures in your deck. So to actually play this game, you actually have to have your deck covered in. So you need a thing like this to cover your deck up for the draw. So it's pretty interesting, definitely. Like, you have to put your deck in here like that, and then, you know, draw from here. So you can't see the card apart from the ends. Yeah, and also you sort of need this thing too to keep track of your life and stuff like that. But the game works well enough, I think. It's not too complicated to play. You just do need a lot of kind of the equipment for the game. But let me just set up a kind of practice game for you, and I'll show you how the game works in action. Okay, so here's our game set up. As you can see, we each have 3 character cards on our side of the field. Because I'm using the tray over here and the deck box, I'm just going to give the actual game mat over to the other side of the field. But yeah, you each start with 3 characters. Obviously they are character cards, so they're the ones that aren't actually see-through, and they have abilities and stuff like that. These are the characters from the show, I think. And then you put your deck there, you have a discard pile there, and then that's where you measure your Kairu. But for us, we have this kind of hand kind of thing where we can actually see what cards are in our hand. It's not the best kind of ever piece of kind of merchandise thing you get with it, but it does have a counter along the top. So you each start off with 3 Kairu, and then as each turn goes along, you go up to 4, 5, and so on, and that's how much energy you can use each turn, and you just have to keep track of that. That's one of the negatives to the game. There's a lot to keep track of with this sort of thing. But anyway, let's go on. Let's say it's our turn. We're going first on this side of the field. You draw your hand of 3 cards. So out of your deck, 1, 2, 3. And just put those cards in our hand. And there. So not the best hand really to start off with. 15 Kairu card, 3 Kairu card, and a 4 Kairu card. We can do some damage, but you'll see how it goes. And then, because it is our turn, we draw a 4th card for, you know, your draw step. And there is no real, not that many steps to the game, but basically that's what you do. You start off in 3. I think because it's our first turn, we go up to 4, and we can use 4 Kairu. So that means we can use actually this card, or this card, and you can basically attack any of your opponents. Our attack cards go on the top of their character cards. So the way the kind of game works is okay, so we're gonna play this card. We're gonna play this one. Roots of Doom. It costs 4. It does the bottom damage. There's the effects of the card. It's kind of a root effect coming at you. And it's 550 power. Then you look at your opponent's defense, and they can only block this card if they have more than 550 red defense. It doesn't matter if any of their other color defenses are higher. This card does damage. So I can actually hit any of these players on the field with this card. This card has 2 defenses, so I'm probably best to hit this one first. So what you do is you pay your cost, which is 4, by going down here. So we go down from 4 to, let's just say 1, but we've used it all. And then that'll get restored next turn. And then we just put our card on top of their character card properly. And there you can see one of their damage zones is covered up. And so on. And then some cards have effects, like you pay 1 less with monsters to cost me. When you play a certain card on me, it does this. When you play a monster on me, it gains something or other. But we've done all we can for our turn. It's now our opponent's turn. So they draw their 4 cards to start off with. And they got 2 monster cards on their side of the field this turn. 6, they also got a card here for 4. So they can actually play all of these if they wanted to. But right now there's only 1 damage on the field, and only this thing can actually heal that specific zone of damage. They're probably best just to use their attack cards. So they have their thing goes up to 4. They start on 3, it's their turn, they go up to 4. So they have 4 to use. They can actually play this card, and if this hits an opponent can't play an attack that costs 3 or less next turn. So that's actually a pretty good card. So they're going to use this card, and they're going to attack one of my monsters. And they go, okay, they can hit this because it only has 300. They can hit this because it doesn't have any green defense. And they can hit him because, he doesn't have any defense. He's probably my best character, so they hit him. They use their Kairu energy and put the card over it, and it does damage. And it hit, so I can't use any any attacks that are 3 or less next turn. So there you go. And then it comes over to our side of the field again. We draw our card, put it into our hand, and look, there's a spell that costs, an attack that costs 3 or less, so we can't actually use that this turn, even though that's a pretty powerful card, as you can see. And you see the way these ones are all clear underneath, yet this one is kind of all covered up. That means that actually this attack, in addition to being cheap and doing a lot of damage, also covers up one of the effects. So say this hit me, that would actually cover up this effect, so I couldn't actually use it anymore. And that's the kind of interesting dynamic of the cards always stacking on top of each other. You always deal with what's visible. So 1 damage is done, I still have my attack and my defense here. This ability works for this card. It'll be covered up the next time an attack hits this one again. And then I can still use this ability if I wanted to. So let's come back to our turn. We can't use this or this. We don't have enough to do this, but we go up to 5 and we replenish our energy, so we have 5 to use. And this is the only card we can use is this one, Stinger. So we have to cast this. I'm going to attack this guy again. This is a blue card, it does 550. He doesn't have any blue defense, so I can actually hit this guy again. And as you can see, I've already attacked this guy, so you can see the top card is a Root of Doom. And I'm going to put Stinger on top of this one. So you place it down there. You can see I've covered up another one of his damage zones. And it doesn't have an effect, this card, but now he only has 1 health left on this guy. And he'll be out of the game if I manage to hit him again. So anyway, let's get on with this. So then goes to our opponent's turn, and they go up to 5-2. And look, they got a monster they can use, and this is how you use a monster. You once again pay the cost, the 4 Kairu, and then you just play this not on top of one of your opponent's cards, but on top of one of your own. And because it has a damage zone here, that's actually like undamaged, you can actually play this on top of one of your monsters. So put this on top of this, and as you can see, it's going to cover up that middle damage zone. So when we place it down, there. So he's back to, if you look at it from above, if the light wasn't so bad, well, you can sort of see it there, straight through. It's not the best with the lighting I have here, but you can sort of see, looking through all the cards, I've damaged the bottom zone, the middle zone has become undamaged now, and the top zone was never damaged in the first place. Plus, he's gained a 300 and 500 defense in red and blue. No, green and blue. Plus the 200 from the starting card, and that's interesting. So, and then this also has an effect. Put a card in your discard pile. You can pay a cost and put a card in your discard pile. I can't speak today. Put a card in your discard pile into your hand. Use this only once per turn. So that's a good card if anything gets discarded, but right now nothing has. So they've healed one of their guys, and you can actually play multiple cards a turn if you have enough energy to, but he only has monsters in his hands and he can't do that. So it comes back to our turn. We draw a card, goes into our hand, and now the effect of this thing has worn off, so we can actually use cards that cost 3 or less this turn if we wanted to. And there we go. That doesn't do any damage, but it does cover up abilities, so there's no real use to that just right now. We go up to 6, obviously, but we can use either of these two cards. This card says react, which means you can use it during your opponent's turn. So we can either do top damage or bottom damage to someone. This guy only has bottom damage, so we'll actually do the top damage to it using this card, because he doesn't have any red defense on that guy. So we'll pay this and do this damage to this guy. And this is where it's kind of awkward, like loads of cards are stacked on top of this and it's not in one of these things. But you can sort of see there, this is now a stack of like 5 or 6 cards, and you can see straight away looking over the top, only damage left to be done to this guy is the middle one, but he still has a lot of defense, and he has the effect and stuff like that. But I can also, since I have 6, I've used 3, I can still use this card as well. So I'm going to use this and hit, and this has got 350, so I can actually hit either of them. I'm going to hit this person on the side. So there, now you can see I've done a lot of damage on that side of the board. And then you come back to your opponent's turn. Sorry. They draw their card, and so on. That's how the game goes back and forth. And then each turn, this goes up until you eventually get to like 20, which I think you can go past 20, but 20 for now is the max. And then you can start using cards like this. 15 damage. It costs 15 energy to use, and it just completely destroys one of your opponent's monsters. That's why it's a rare. And you cast that, and it instantly kills like anything. So this hasn't got any cards put on top of it. Just boom, out of the game. And now they can actually heal like that much damage, I think, during the duel, because as far as I know, that card's now knocked out. But if you put a card like, say, I think in our deck we have the card that can heal this thing. It's just awkward. Yeah, I think this thing. Because this is a monster card, you can actually put it on top of something and it heals all 3 zones. They could actually heal this thing once their other 2 monsters are not knocked out by putting this on top, and then it heals them and gives them energy. And that's how the game works, going back and forth. It's a pretty interesting game, I think. Gets a bit crazy, I think, near the end of the game, because the difference in power level between a lot of cards is not too vast. And then, like, by about turn 12, which is 9 turns into the game, you're able to cast like 3 or 4 cards a turn and basically nearly knock out one monster every turn, in addition to what's happened in the turns before that. And like, this is one of the only cards in the game that does 3 damage straight up and costs a lot, and you're almost better just putting like a lot of 2s or 1s into the game that do like 2 or 1 damage each, and then get the same value as this. But it's an interesting game. It didn't take off that much. As far as I know, no new product for this game is coming out. But you can still see it's a pretty nice game. This is the only set, I think, of the whole game that came out. There was no second booster pack set of the game. But definitely, as far as I'm aware, this game is pretty cheap, to buy online and stuff like that. Buy a starter deck, 2 starter decks, or something like that, and play a game. It's pretty fun. And the cards are just really nice in that they have the effects to them. So let me just show you some of these effects, like Venom Blast, that's not really a good effect, but some of them have really cool effects. Like I think this one, Sonic Spin, actually has a really cool effect. Yeah, look at that. That's really cool. It's like coming towards you and then away. It's really nice. Ink Cloud. Yeah, they've got some really nice effects. They're really nice cards. Pretty durable. They don't scratch, and like unless you really crazy go in towards bending it, it just goes straight back to position. Like if you actually put a fold in these, yeah, you probably wreck them, but that's hard to do. So yeah, good game. I don't think it ranks up too hard against any of the other games here. I think it had potential if it had become popular and people like bought the game, if multiple booster sets came out and they actually created a metagame to it. But right now I don't think there's really a metagame to this game, not that I've seen anywhere. Like, I don't really know what the correct kind of structure for a deck is, because I never got a starter deck. There's nothing out there to really help you guide towards like your deck would mainly be made up of attacks. That's the basic thing. I know that, but you'd have to have a certain amount of the the monster cards to heal you in the deck as well. So I think I made this deck over here with about 25 attacks, 15 monsters, or 30 attacks, 10 monsters. I think that's about the ratio you want, because you obviously want to do damage to your opponent more than maybe heal your stuff. But yep, it's a good game. I recommend trying it out. It's just because the cards are actually pretty interesting. There's some nice designs like to the cards. Don't know what the anime is like. Haven't watched it, but interesting enough. So yeah, from here I'm going to move on to the Avatar: The Last Airbender trading card game. I've covered it before, but so I'll go really quickly through it, and so this video is not too long. So next up we have the Avatar: The Last Airbender trading card game, which is called Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Aang Quickstrike. Now the Quickstrike is actually a kind of trading card game system, and Avatar is just one of the games that were available for it. I think also included were like Marvel, DC. I think are focused more on DC. But Avatar was indeed one of them. Like Redakai, it's a game that didn't get past its first booster set release and has never really been incredibly popular. But as a huge Avatar fan, as you'll know from most of the videos on my channel, I really do like this card game. Not just because of its Avatar, it's actually a really nice card game as well. But yeah, that's a starter deck. It's a 2-player starter set. You get 2 basically half decks to play the game just using this starter pack. But together they make up 1 full deck, and you get 2 chamber cards in it. Here's a booster pack. Here's what the booster pack looks like. You get 10 cards, including 1 chamber card, which I'll explain in a moment. But obviously of the 9 normal cards, you get a rare and a chance to get a shiny, which is called a Xenomental in this game. But yeah, that's what you get. Now, here are the different types of cards. First up, as I said, is a chamber card, which you can see here. These cards are double-sided. They have 2 images, which means they're also a double card. They're called a chamber card because they're really thick, as you can sort of see. Here's a comparison with a regularly sized card. They're really thick cards because, as the name suggests, they are basically a chamber. And the way that works is that it's really hard to do holding the camera, but you pull the top bit out. That's just this bit here. And it reveals the card of this one, which is like the strike cards of the game, but obviously held within your character card. And these are double-sided because when you use the first side, you then kind of reset it, but flip the card around, and then you're able to use the really powerful side of the card, which is also in here. And this is a rare, as you can see, signified by those 3 dots there. But yeah, that's what those cards are. They're the really cool ones. You use one of these as part of your deck. It's not included in your deck, but this is the card that basically makes up your deck. So if you choose Katara, you have to base your deck around her 3 symbols, which are kind of the lion for bravery, this lightning strike, and then the sun means that she's a good character. And then same here. I think this means energy. This symbol here, bull means he's more aggressive, and he's also a good character. Is King Boomy. So use one of those when you play the game, each. Then, as I said, strike cards make up the most of your deck, followed by advantage cards, and then you'll also have a few ally cards in your deck as well, and they're all signified by the different colours. So blue for strike, orange, kind of brown for advantage, and then pink, purple for ally cards. And I think mainly the order you play them is the majority of your deck will be strikes because they're how you win the game. You'll have a couple of advantage cards and a couple of ally cards. Probably more advantages than ally is the main kind of construction of a deck. But here's what a strike card looks like. Obviously it says that it is indeed a strike card here. That lightning bolt symbol there means that it has 4 power. This shield symbol up here means that it has 3 intercept, which is basically the defense points of this card. The cost here with the red, yellow and red refer to how much it costs. So in this case it costs 1 green energy. The lion symbol means that it can be used in any deck that uses the character card with the lion symbol. So for instance, Katara's deck, who is the lion symbol, could use this card but not this one because obviously that's a card for a boomy deck. And then there's also cards that are specific for good characters, in-between characters and light characters. And then there are also cards that are just neutral that you can use in any deck. And then the cards also have an effect which just is related to energy, increasing power, and then a few key card effects. A little bit of kind of a flavor text for Avatar. There you can see 2005, and there's obviously the image and the name. But that's mainly what the strike cards are. You flip them over into your zone, and they either attack for you or defend for you, depending on whose turn it is. Advantage cards also have this kind of a symbol. So in this case, this deck could be used in a boomy deck. This card could be used in a boomy deck. It also has the same sort of cost as a strike card, but the effect and the way it works is different in that it doesn't have attack or defense. This card is just like the equivalent of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic card, where it affects the game, and it's pretty much a one-time use, and it helps your chamber card to activate. But for the most part, that's why you don't use too many of them. Your strikes have +1 first when used in one of your charged zones, and then the same here. This card can be used in a Katara deck. And whenever you flip a card, you turn the top card of your deck face up, and they both cost 1 green. And then finally you have your ally cards, which again have the sort of symbol. This means that he's a kind of in-between character. He's not quite good, he's not quite bad. Zuko is also one of these, because it's all book 1 related. Monkey Yatsu is a good character, Momo is a good character. And then you've got neutral characters who just aren't of any sides, like the Herbalist and the Ganjin tribe. In this case, the game consists of a green zone, a yellow zone, and a red zone. And an ally card, depending on what zone you flip them into, acts on that zone. So Jet would act in, say, the green zone, and whenever you counter-attack from the zone that Jet's in, each player eliminates one of his allies. So you've got some interesting effects with these, and that's why you don't use too many of them, because if you have one in each of your zones, then the rest of them that you draw won't be much use to you. And like the other cards, they don't have an attack defense. They do have a cost, and then they have an effect as well. Last but not least, I'll just go over the rarities that there are in this game. The rarity in this case card here is Avatar Master of Elements, card number 139. And the 1 black symbol and the fact that the card text is black means that it's a common. The 2 little diamonds and the AME number means that, and it's in white, means that it's a common. And then Katara is the example of a rare that I have here. You can see there, it's yellow, has the AME number, and 3 means it's a rare. And then finally, I'll show you the Zenimentals, which I have in my folder here. I don't have the whole set, but because these cards are pretty hard to come by now, and they're fairly expensive. But yeah, there you go. You can sort of see that Zhao card is shiny. This Iroh one is shiny. Really fitting that his is a lightning redirection. And then there you go for the other ones. Here's some more of the chamber cards, just for example. There's a few of the different Angs that you can get with different variations of the cards that are on the back and front. There's another Katara, another Boomy. There's a Zuko. There's the back of Zuko's cards. And there's Iroh. There's Afiko, which is one of the trading card game specific characters. And there's another one of them, Kinto. But yeah, that's what the game is about, more or less, in terms of how you play. In terms of the way the cards work. So I'm just going to briefly, really briefly, because I've already have a video on this, show you how to play the game. Okay, so here is the game set up. I don't have that much space on my table, so it's pretty cramped, but I just need one side of the field to show you the setup. you have your deck here, which I think is a 60 card deck, but in this case I've just put together some really quick 40 card decks. The ratios of the cards are probably all wrong, but it's just to demonstrate. And you have your chamber card here in your green zone above your deck, and then a discard pile below your deck. And then the same over here, but there's not much space. And then what you do is the top 9 cards of your deck go to your energy zone. So 3 in your green zone, 3 in your yellow zone, 3 in your red zone to start off. And then basically you're ready to play. So effectively, what the way the game works, I think, is you choose someone to go first, and they're the first person to receive an attack. And automatically the game says that the first strike is a 3 strike attack. So then we're on the defense, so we go first. There's no hand in this game or anything like that. So all you do is you start in your green zone from your deck, you flip the first card from your deck over into your green zone, and then look to see can it intercept the attack. So since we're defending, you ignore the strike number, which is attacking for now, and just look at the defense. So the first attack is a 3. We can actually block with this, so we're actually going to do this. So what you do is you pay the cost, which in this case is 1 green and 1 yellow. So that's exactly what you do. You pay 1 green into the discard zone and 1 yellow also into the discard zone, and then you can attack. So I think what you do is just you flip it, you turn it sideways to show that you've now counter-attacked with this card, which means that they have to defend a 1 strike attack. And this is the way the game goes back and forth. If I couldn't defend with this guy, what I'd have to do would be flip it into my energy zone, and it becomes an energy, and then move down to the yellow zone, and I flip a new card in. If I couldn't defend with that, I'd flip it in here, go down to the red zone. If I can't defend in the red zone, I take 1 point of damage, and then the first person to get 3 points of damage loses. But we've defended from our green zone, and so we counterattack, and then it's our opponent's turn. They flip into their red zone, and they can indeed defend with this, which is a 1. And they just decide to do that, and so they put their card in the discard pile, which we'll have to put there, and then they counterattack. Then it comes back to our turn. We have to defend against a 2 strike attack. So we do our kind of what's called our upkeep step, which is just where this card has been used, it goes to our discard pile, and then we start playing again. We have to defend against a 2 strike attack into our green zone, and we can actually use this guy, and it's pretty good. So while your opponent is defending, your allies cannot be moved or eliminated. That doesn't really count, but we can still use it because it's a powerful card. We can defend against 2 with this, so we use 1 yellow and 1 red to do this. And you can see what the strategy of this game comes into, in that you're rarely going to get much chance to gain red energy throughout the game unless you're actually going to lose damage. So it's all about choosing when and where to use your more valuable energies, your yellow and your reds, and to attack back. So this card costs a yellow and a red, but it's really powerful and it's kind of worth it in this case. So we attack back, and then it's going to our opponent's turn. They put this in their discard pile, and they flip a card in here. This only has 4 intercept and our attack has 6, so they can't use it. So what they have to do is, as I said, flip it into their energy zone. They gain an energy but move down to their next zone. This card again doesn't work, so again they flip it in here, and then they move down to their red zone, and they get here's an advantage card. And the way advantage cards work is that you activate it, and then it says whenever you flip a card, turn the top card of your deck face up. They actually use their zone in doing this. So you put the card in what's called the advantage area, which is kind of in between the 2 players, but it only affects one side of the field. You pay the cost, and then you do what's called charging that zone, which is turning it, as it says here, turn to charge. So in this case, that player charged their discard pile zone, and they just turn their discard pile sideways. And then when you use an advantage card in all 3 of your zones and they're all sideways, when it's your turn to attack again, you can actually use your chamber card then by uncharging all of your zones. So in this case, I'd do that, and then this would go away, and my attack would actually become my chamber card. But obviously it doesn't go into that zone, it just attacks straight from here. Whoops, just dropped some cards. But yeah, that's how it works. And then when you're finished attacking, you flip your card over. So next time you charge your zones, you use the more powerful side of the card. And then the only other rule to really explain to you is what happens when you gain a point. You also gain energy and stuff like that. So what you do is that if you do an attack, if you get a point straight through, like that my opponent couldn't attack, they went through all of their zones, and I gain attack. What happens is that I actually gain an energy for each of my zones to celebrate, or whatever it's called. And so, you know, from your discard pile, you go 1 energy in green, 1 energy in yellow, 1 energy in red. And then, you know, your opponent kind of would do the same and stuff like that. It's a really interesting game in terms of how it goes back and forth. But as I said, I've demonstrated this game before. I'm not going to spend too long here. It's fun. There's not a whole lot of strategy because a lot of the cards are very similar, and it's kind of hard to make decks with the with such a limitation of the different types of cards you can use. Maybe if there was more sets of this, it could have done better, but you know, it's overall pretty good. So there you have it. There are all the card games I'm going to cover in detail in this series. If I see a new card game come out, I probably will get some cards and do a video on it, and maybe like after the series is done, add it to this kind of series in a way. But right now, I've covered all the ones I'm going to cover. I've covered the 4 main ones I'm going to be doing in the results show, plus 2 other ones that I think are interesting and I know about. So I think I've given a good rundown of the main card games out right now. And all that's left to do in the final part of this series, part 7, it's going to be the results award show type thing, where I'm going to judge the 4 main card games. So Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic and Cardfight Vanguard. Under these 5 categories, I'm going to rank them 1 to 4, so each one will get a rating. And that is, 5 categories are game mechanics, which is playing the game, collectability, and that's rarities and stuff like that, how easy cards are to collect, card design, how the cards look themselves, how well they're designed, and so on. Product, what type of product is available to get into the game and make yourself better, going from maybe beginner to competitive and stuff like that. And then finally, metagame, playing the game competitively, and looking at the game as being a more experienced player and stuff like that. So there are the 5 categories I'm going to rate it on, and then maybe I'll decide which is my favourite at the end based on who my winners are in all the categories. But thanks for watching this video, part 6, additional card games, and bye.